Spirit Stream Sect, located within the East Forest continent, belonging to the downstream branch of the Tangshan River, is located based on the north and south banks of the Tangshan River. So far there had been a history of Shi 000 year shocking the four directions, 8 cloudy amazing peaks across the Tangshan River, of which there are 4 peaks on the north bank, 3 on the south bank. As for the middle of the Tangshan River, there is certainly a most majestic peak. This mountain was snow-capped from the middle section, so much so that it was impossible to see the end of it, and one could only see that the lower half of the mountain had been hollowed out, causing the Golden River to run through it like a mountain bridge. At the moment, a long rainbow sped by off the southern bank of the Spirit Stream Sect, and within it, middle-aged cultivator Li Qinghao brought Bai Shaochen with him as he disappeared into the handyman's area under the third peak, and Bai Shaochen's scream could be heard from within the long rainbow. Bai Shaochen felt like he was going to be scared to death. Flying all the way, he saw countless large mountains, and several times felt like he was going to be unable to grab the other side of the thighs. Right now there was a blossom in front of him, and when it became clear, he had arrived outside an attic, and after landing on the ground, his legs trembled as he looked around at a completely different world than the village. In front of him, beside the attic, there was a large stone erected, on which were written 3 large words in dragon's flag. Handyman's office. Beside the boulder sat a hum-faced woman. Seeing Li Qinghao arrive, she immediately rose to pay her respects. Send the son to the fire stove room. Li Qinghao left the sentence behind, ignoring Bai Shaochen, and turned around to transform into a long rainbow and go away. The hum-faced woman was stunned when she heard the words fire stove room, and swept her gaze over Bai Shaochen, giving him a cloth bag of the clan's handyman, and with an expressionless explanation, she led him out of the attic, all the way to a forest of courtyards, countless attics, paved with verdant stone and fragrant with flowers and grasses, just like a fairyland, which made Bai Shaochen's heart flutter and made him feel a few points less nervous and apprehensive. Nice place. This is much better than the village. Bai Shaochen's eyes showed his anticipation, and as he walked along, the more he moved forward, the more beautiful the surrounding scenery became, and he even saw some beautiful women passing by from time to time, making Bai Shaochen instantly love this place. A few moments later, Bai Shaochen was even happier, especially when, at the end of the road ahead, he saw a 7-story pavilion with a crystal-clear body, and even cranes flying through the sky. Senior sister, we're here, aren't we? Bai Shaochen asked excitedly. Yeah, it's right there. The pockmarked woman, still expressionless, spoke indifferently and pointed to the side path. Bai Shaochen followed the other party pointed out, full of anticipation to see. The whole person stiffened, rubbed his eyes to look carefully, only to see that the ground is broken in many places, surrounded by even more broken. A few pieces of grass seem to collapse at any time, and there are even some strange smells wafted out from there. Bai Shaochen wanted to cry, and holding on to his last glimmer of hope, he asked the pockmarked woman, Senior sister, you're pointing the wrong way. No, the pockmarked-faced woman spoke faintly, walking up the path first, and as Bai Shaochen listened, he felt everything good collapse instantly and bitterly follow. He didn't have to go very far before he saw that at the end of the ragged path, there were several large black pots scurrying around. And upon closer inspection, underneath each of those large black pots, there was a large fat man, full of fat, seemingly able to run out of wall with a single squeeze. And not just any fat man, but especially one of the fattest guys in the room, who was just as big as a mountain of meat, and Bai Shaochen was worried about whether or not he could explode. Around those fat guys, there are hundreds of cauldrons, and these fat guys are adding water and rice. Noticing that someone had arrived, and especially seeing the hum-faced woman, that meat mountain immediately looked surprised, carrying a large spoon and running horizontally over. The ground trembled, and the fat body shook out countless ripples, as Bai Shaochen stared in disbelief, subconsciously looking for an axe at his side. This morning I heard magpies calling, and it turned out to be you, sister. Could it be that you, sister, have come around? Think I have a few talents and are taking advantage of today's auspicious occasion to couple up with sister. Mead Mountain eyes revealed a colorful light, excitedly running and shouting, "I will send the sun to join your fire stove room." The person had been brought. Farewell. The hum-faced woman's face was extremely ugly and a bit annoyed at the sight of Meat Mountain, and she hurriedly backed away. Bai Shaochun sucked in his breath. That hum-faced woman along the way he paid attention to. That appearance is simply ghostly. In front of this big fat what tastes, actually so also can be a face. Not waiting for Bai Shaochun to finish thinking, that Meat Mountain on the word appeared in front of him, directly on the sunshine cover. Bai Shaochun shrouded in shadow. Bai Shaochun looked up at the immense fat man in front of him, whose flesh was still trembling, and struggled to gulp down a mouthful of saliva. It was the first time he'd ever seen someone so fat. With a face full of grudges, Meat Mountain retracted his gaze from the direction of the departing pockmarked woman in the distance and swept Bai Shaochun's eyes. "Ho yo, there's actually a newcomer, and it's not simple to squeeze out the originally scheduled Zhu Beozai. Senior brother, underneath Bai Shaochun. Bai Shaochun felt that the other party's lanky body was putting too much pressure on him, and subconsciously took a few steps back. Bai Shaochun, N. Skin white, small and delicate. The appearance is also very pure. Good. Your name up very in line with my taste well." Meat Mountain's eyes lit up as he slapped down Bai Shaochun's shoulder, almost knocking him right back down in one fell swoop. "I wonder what senior brother's first name is." Bai Shaochun sucked in a breath, rolled his eyes, and looked at Meat Mountain with contempt, mentally pondering taking the other's name for a spin as well. "I'm Shan Dao Fat. That's Huan Fat and Hai San Fat." Meat Mountain hemmed and hawed. When Bai Shaochun heard the names, he was greatly impressed that the people were just like their name, and immediately lost the idea of having a little fun. "As for you, from now on you'll be called Bai Jiu. Little brother, you're too skinny. This will go out and lose the face of our fire stove place off. But it's okay, don't worry. At most 1 year, you will also be fat. In the future you will be called Bai Jiu Fat." Shan Dao Fat patted his chest, his fat meat trembling. Hearing the words Bai Jiu Fat, Bai Shaochun's face squeezed out bitter water. "Since you're already the 9th senior brother, you're no longer an outsider. We've always had a tradition of carrying pots in the fire stove room. See this pot behind me? It's the king of pots. It's made of iron essence and inscribed with an earth fire formation. The flavor of the spirit rice cooked in this pot exceeds the flavor of unusual pots by far. Far too much. You should also go and choose one and carry it on your back later. That would be awesome." Shan Dao Fat patted the large black pot behind his back and bragged as he opened his mouth. "Elder brother, can I forget about the backing pot?" Bai Shaochun glanced at the pot behind Shan Dao Fat, and immediately had the feeling that all the people in the fire stove room were backing pots, and thought about the way he would look carrying a big black pot in his mind, and said in a hurry, "That's not good. Carrying pots and pans is a tradition in our fire stove room. And when you're in the sect in the future, as long as people see you carrying a pot and know that you're from the fire stove room, they won't dare to bully you. And our fire stove room is a very prestigious place." Shan Dao Fat winked at Bai Shaochun, and without further ado, carried him to the back of the grass hut, where thousands of cauldrons were stacked densely, the vast majority of which had fallen into a thick layer of ash, and had obviously been left unattended for a long time. "9th senior brother, pick one. We're going to go cook the rice, or else it'll get mushy and those other disciples will be yelling again." Big Fatty Shan shouted, turned around, and with a few other fatties, started scurrying around the hundreds of pots again. Bai Shaochun sighed and looked at the pots, wondering which one to choose, when he suddenly saw a pot sitting in the corner that had been pressed underneath. There was something special about this pot. It wasn't round, but oval, and didn't look like a pot, but rather like a turtle shell, with what appeared to be some dull lines faintly visible. "Huh." Bai Shaochun's eyes lit up, and he quickly walked over, squatting down to take a closer look before lifting it out and looking at it closely, his eyes showing satisfaction. He had been a fan of turtles since he was a young boy, as turtles represented longevity, and the reason he had come to cultivate immortality was for longevity. And now that he had taken a look at this pot resembling a turtle shell, he considered it to be very auspicious and a good omen in his opinion. After carrying this pot out, Shan Dao Fat saw it from afar and ran over with a big spoon. "9 master brother, how do you choose this off?" This pot is put there for I don't know how many years. No one has used it because it is like a turtle shell, so no one has ever chosen to carry it on the body. This. Nine Master brother, are you sure? Shan Dafat patted his stomach, kindly persuaded. Sure, I'll take this pot. The more Bai Shaochun looked at the pot, the more he liked and firmly said. Shan Dafat persuaded him some more, and seeing that Bai Shaochun was adamant about it, he looked at him oddly, said no more, and after arranging for Bai Shaochun to live in the grass hut at the fire stove room, he went back to his busy schedule. At the moment, it was dusk. And Bai Shaochun, inside the grass hut, took a closer look at the turtle-shaped pot and realized that on the back of the pot, there were dozens of lines that were just dull and hard to spot if you didn't look closely. He immediately decided that the pot was extraordinary and carefully placed it on the stove before surveying the house where he lived. The house was simple, with a small bed, a table and chairs, and a copper mirror for daily needs hanging on the wall. As he looked around the room, there was a violet light that flickered on the bland pot behind him. For Bai Shaochun, a lot had happened that day, and now, although he had arrived in the immortal world of his dreams, he was ultimately a bit bewildered in his heart. After a few moments, he took a deep breath, his eyes revealing expectations. I want to live forever. Bai Shaochun sat down and took out the pocket given to him by the pockmarked woman at the handyman's office. Inside was a pill, a wooden sword, a burning incense, then the handyman's clothes and token, and finally a bamboo book with a few small words on it. Purple Key Harnessing and God, Key Condensation Chapter. At dusk, while Shan Dafat and the others were busy in the fireplace room, Bai Shaochun inside the house was looking at the bamboo book. Anticipation in his eyes, he had come here for the sake of longevity. And the door to longevity was in his hands at the moment. After taking a few deep breaths, Bai Shaochun opened the bamboo book and read it. A few moments later, Bai Shaochun's eyes revealed a look of excitement. There were 3 diagrams in the bamboo book, and according to it, cultivation was divided into 2 realms: key condensation and foundation building, and this purple key harnessing tripod technique was divided into 10 layers, each corresponding to the 10 layers of key condensation, and each cultivation to a layer. You can harness external objects for your own use. When the 3rd layer, you can harness the weight of a small half of the tripod object. To the 6th layer, it is a large half of the tripod, and to the 9th layer, it is a whole tripod. And as for the final great circle, it is possible to harness the weight of the object of 2 tripods. The only thing was that only the first 3 layers of the Gong method were in the bamboo book. The rest were not recorded, and if one wanted to practice, one needed to follow a specific breathing and movement pattern in order to practice the purple key tripod harnessing technique. Bai Shaochun psyched himself up, adjusted his breathing, closed his eyes and set up the movements from the first picture in the bamboo book. And after only 3 breaths, his whole body screamed out in pain, unable to hold on, and that type of breathing made him feel like he didn't have enough ki to go around. It's too hard. It says that by practicing this first diagram, you can feel a trace of ki vaguely wandering around in your body. But I don't feel anything but pain here. Bai Shaochun was a bit bitter. But for the sake of longevity, he gritted his teeth and tried again. And so he stumbled until it was evening, and he never felt any ki in his body. He didn't realize that even someone with excellent qualification would need at least a month to simply go about practicing the first layer of this purple key harnessing tripod technique without external forces. And here he was only a few hours in, so there was no way he could have felt any ki at all. At the moment, his entire body was sore, and Bai Shaochun stretched out and was about to go wash his face when suddenly, from outside the door, came the sound of a burst of noise. And Bai Shaochun stuck his head out the window and immediately saw a yellow-faced young man with an ironclad face standing outside the gate to the fire stove room courtyard. Who took my Zubei's place? Get your ass out here!